Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's get started in a couple of minutes, guys. Just waiting for everyone to join.
ఎవరమ్మా ఎవరు
Guys, one request. I mean, if you are not talking, I request you to please go on mute. Hey, very good morning, everyone, and good evening. Let's get started. Okay. So yesterday we have completed Python operators. We discussed about different operators we have in Python, and we have done some examples. So today I'm gonna start conditional statements, guys. Whatever we are going to discuss in next 4 sessions is very, very important in the context of any programming language, not just with Python. Okay. But whatever we are going to learn, they are like, foundation for any programming language. Okay. So let's get started. Any idea, guys, what exactly conditional statements is?
if else
While loop.
Those are loops. Yes.
The conditions to execute a program or statement.
Correct. Okay. So all the answers are correct, guys. So we'll start with the conditions first. So basically, we use these conditions when we want to execute a set of code only when a condition is true. Or maybe you want to check a condition. If it is true, you want to execute some set of code. Okay. And if it is false, you want to execute the other set of code. That is when, these conditions would come into picture. Okay. So again, to keep it in a simple terminology, right? Whenever you want to execute some lines of code in your program based on a condition, then conditional statements would help you. Okay. So in Python, we have three different variants of Python, guys. Sorry, three different variants of conditions. One is if, and second one is if else, and third one is nested if else. Okay. Else, and then elif. Then you can write another elif, and finally you can end this loop with an else statement. Okay, so there are a couple of important things we will learn in this topic. One is creating a code block. Okay, in any other programming languages, generally we use curly braces. Okay, in order to define a code block. Code block can be anything. So for example, what are the conditions you want to write under if, or maybe what are the lines of code you want to write under for loop. Okay, or maybe what are the code, lines of code you want to write in a function, right? Generally, we use curly braces in other programming languages. We call that as a block of code. Okay. In Python, we don't have curly braces. Instead, we use colon and indentation. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Let me tell you. Okay. So for example, I have some lines of code. And then, this is how the syntax of if would look like. If, and then some condition. This condition can be a single condition, or this condition can be a combination of multiple conditions too. But at the end of the day, this should evaluate either true or false. This should evaluate to be either true or false. Okay. And then you see this is a colon. Okay. So when you keep colon like this, it tells Python that boss, a block is getting started. Okay. And then whatever the lines of code you want to write under this if block, okay, you will write that with a couple of spaces left, one tab space or two white spaces. Okay. I'm referring to this space. Okay. So this is what we call as indentation. In Python, indentation plays a crucial role. In other programming languages, there is not much importance for indentation because we have curly braces. Okay, but in Python, indentation plays a very, very, very important role. Okay, so in other programming languages, it's just optional, guys. I mean, if you write an indented code, it will make your code better readable. Okay, but in Python, it plays a crucial role. Okay, and then maybe you want to execute these lines of code. Maybe you want to execute these lines of code based on a condition. Only when a particular condition is true. That is when, if word come into picture, and then you can assume there are some lines of code here. Okay. So let's say these lines of code is 1. I'm just referring it to 1. And these lines of code to 2. And these lines of code to 3. Okay. So 1 will be executed no matter what happens to the condition. 3 will be executed no matter what happens to the condition. And execution of this block 2 depends on, this condition. If this condition is true, then these lines of code will get executed. If it is false, nothing would happen. It will directly go and execute the third one. If you see the flow chart, this is how it would look like. One will be executed no matter what happens, and then condition would be evaluated. And let's say if this condition is true, block 2 will get executed, and then finally block 3. Okay. If this condition is false, then block 2 will never get executed. Okay. It's going to be block 1 and block 3. This is the simplest form of if. Maybe you want to execute, the lines of code that are represented as 2 here based on a condition. This is how we write it, the syntax. Okay. And then the second variant of if is if else. Okay. Let's say you have some lines of code here. And then if, and then you are checking for a condition. And then some lines of code inside this if. And then you have else. Some lines of code over here. Okay. And then, this code is outside this if else block. So this entire thing is what we refer to as if else block. Let us assume these lines of code as 1, this as 2, this as 3, and this as 4. Okay. No matter what happens to your condition, 1 will get executed for sure, 4 will get executed for sure, and only one of the 2 or 3 will get executed. I repeat, only one of the 2 or 3 will get executed. Okay. No matter what, 2 and 3 will never get executed. Okay. Either 2 or 3 will get executed. Let's say if this condition is evaluated to be true, then 2 will get executed. If this condition is evaluated to be false, 3 will get executed. Okay, so this is how the typical flowchart would look like. 1 will get executed no matter what happens to your condition. Okay, and then your condition will be evaluated. If the condition is true, okay, 2 will get executed and then 4 will get executed. So when it is true, 3 will never get executed. Okay, and when it is false, 3 will get executed and finally 4 will get executed. So if you see, 1 is getting executed no matter what happens, and then 4 is getting executed no matter what happens. Okay, based on the condition either true or false, either 2 or 3 will get executed, one of them. Okay, so this is the second variant of conditions, guys. If okay, and then you might ask me, boss, what if I have to uh, evaluate conditions at multiple levels? Then we have something called as elif. Okay, so let's say you have some lines of code, and then you have if, then you have condition 1. Okay, and then you have some lines of code. Then you want to check another condition, elif. Okay, so in other programming languages, we call this as else if. So we don't have else if in Python. We call it as elif, el from else and then if, elif. Okay, condition 2, and then some lines of code. Then let's say I'm doing condition 3, and then some lines of code. Then else, some lines of code, and then finally some lines of code outside this elif block. Okay, now let us assume this as 1, this as 2, this as 3, this as 4, and this one 5, and then this one 6. Okay, and the same applies here as well, guys. Only one of these blocks will get executed from 2 to 5. Okay, let's say if this condition 1 is true. Okay, now 2 will get executed. If this condition 1 is false, it will check condition 2. Okay, if condition 1 is false, it will check for condition 2. If this condition 2 is true, then 3 will be executed. If this condition 2 is false, it will check for condition 3. Okay, if condition 3 is true, then 4 will be executed. If this condition is false, it will go to else block. Okay, and the 6 will be executed no matter what happens to the conditions, above conditions. Okay, now if I have to draw a flow chart, 1 will be executed no matter what happens, and then the condition 1 will be checked. Okay, if it is true, 2 will be executed, and then finally 6 will be executed. Okay, if it is false, then condition 2 will be evaluated. Okay, if this condition is true, 3 will be executed, and then 6 will be executed. If this condition is false, it will check condition 3. Okay, if this condition 3 is true, 4 will be executed, and then 6 will be executed. If this condition is false, 5 and 6 will be executed. Okay, so no matter what happens with the conditions, 1 and 6 will get executed for sure. And among 2, 3, 4, 5, only one of them will get executed based on the conditions. And like I said, once this condition is true, let's say once this condition is true, condition 1, okay, so 2 will be executed and it will not evaluate the other conditions, guys. Okay, so the next conditions will be evaluated only when the current condition is false. Okay, so the order in which you are writing these conditions is also very important. We'll look at some examples. Okay, And here I have taken only 3 conditions, but you can write any number of conditions you want. Okay, as your program demands. Okay, it can be 10 conditions, 20 conditions, 30 conditions, doesn't really matter. If your program demands, yes, you can go ahead and do it. But when you want to check more than one conditions, you will bank on elif. Okay, so before we jump into examples, let me take a pause. Any questions?
So end of the day, we are only executing only one condition, right? One
Yes.
condition will be executed block.
Correct.
No matter how many else if or else you can write it, it will be
Yes.
one.
So Suresh, we are using if else, right? So instead of
Mhm.
if else, can we use if elif like by
No.
using? Okay.
No.
So what is the difference?
What is the
here?
difference between if else and else? Else if.
Else if you are checking for another condition, right? So when you don't want to check another condition, then it will be else.
If else.
No, there is no if else or elif. Okay, so
You
if
have
is
written
different,
if else,
else
right?
is
That is confusing actually. If else and else is okay, but you wrote here if else. Is that condition is there or not?
you're talking about the second one.
Here, right, the conditional statement before that you wrote if else.
Yeah, if you see right under it, the syntax is also written. There is if block and there is else block. Okay, so else block is kind of otherwise.
DevOps కట్టాలి మర్చిపోయేవాళ్ళు మనం ఫోన్ కూడా చేసాం $50
Guys, please go on mute, please.
July 8th.
I think you
Okay,
can mute from your side, otherwise.
So Suresh,
No,
you are
I can't.
saying that if
Yeah,
a
please go
equals
ahead.
to if a equals to 3, execute the first condition, else execute the second one. That's what if else mean, right?
Correct.
Okay, so else if is like we can mention any number of conditions here, right?
Correct.
It's
Basically, multiple conditions.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so for example, you can take this Triveni.
It's just
Let's
like
say,
what
the first, there are multiple criterias. Okay, so the first criteria is, let's say, age. The second criteria is like uh, what you call, or else let me do this. I have some good examples which will clear these things for you. Okay, but whenever you want to see both else if and else, theoretically does the same thing. But only thing is in if else, you cannot evaluate multiple conditions, whereas in nested if else, you can do that.
Hmm.
Okay. Now let's go to examples. We'll start with simple examples and then I'll be walking you through, little complex examples. First things, let's try to get used to the syntax. Okay. So using if, a simple example, I just want to check if a given number is divisible by 3 or not. Okay. Now, what I'm doing is I'm reading input from the user. A is equals to, since it is a number, I'm converting it to int, and then I'm using input function to read the input from the user, which is keyboard. Okay, and I'm just printing some meaningful message, enter number. And in Python, this is how we generally give comment, guys. Okay, so just want to show that example. We use hash symbol to give any comment. Okay, now I'm using modulus operator to check the same. Okay, a modulus 3, which would give us reminder. If that reminder is equals to 0, then this line of code will get executed. I repeat, only when this condition is true, this statement will get executed, this print statement written inside if. Okay, and then I'm writing another print statement out of if block. You see, this is what I call as indentation. There are 3 ways you can check your indentation, guys. I'm just going back. Okay, when I'm writing my code, just type and enter. Your IDE will auto indent it. Okay, or if you want to manually do it, either it is one tab space or two spaces, two white spaces. Okay, I repeat, one tab space or two white spaces. Okay, so when I run this, here you go. It is asking for a number. Maybe I'll give 35. Okay. So 35 divided by 3, a remainder would be 2. So B will not be equals to 0. And this statement will never get executed. It will just print out of if condition. Out of if condition. One moment. Okay. I'm running this again. Now maybe I'll give 36, which is divisible. Now B is equals to 36 modulus 3. Output would be 0. B is equals to 0. This returns false. This returns true. Since it is true, now this condition will get executed. Sorry, this statement will get executed. It will print number is divisible by 3 and out of if condition. Okay. So this is a very simple example just to make yourself familiar with, the syntax. Now moving on, again, another simple example just to demonstrate syntax here to check if a given number is odd or even. Same thing, I'm using input function to read data from the user or the input from the user, which is keyboard, standard input device. Okay, since input function returns this number as a string, I'm converting it to integer because I want to apply arithmetic operator in the next step. Okay, now I'm doing a modulus 2 because by definition of an even number, anything divisible by 2 is even and which is not divisible by 2 is odd. Okay, so if the remainder is 0, then I'm printing number is even. Else I'm printing number is odd. I don't have to check another condition here if b not equals to 0 because you will only get two reminders when you divide anything with 2, either 0 or 1. Okay, so if this condition is not true, then I'm getting into else block and printing the number is odd. And then I'm printing out of if condition, okay, outside this if else block. Outside this if else block. So when I run this, maybe I'll give an odd number 21. Now if a modulus 2, 21 divided by 2, the remainder would be 1. Since this condition is not satisfied, it will just print number is odd and out of if condition. There you go. Number is odd and then out of if condition. Now, maybe let me give some 24. Now it will print number is even and out of if condition. Okay, so these are the basic examples which demonstrates what we have discussed. Okay, now can we evaluate multiple conditions? Answer is yes. Okay, so let's say here I'm taking, couple of inputs from the user, age and then salary. By taking these two input parameters, I'm gonna predict whether he would be able to buy an iPhone or not. Okay, boss, are you doing any predictive analytics? No, just a simple rule. Okay, so I'm taking age from the user, salary from the user, and this is my condition. Okay, so if the user falls in this age range, which is 21 to 39, okay, and his salary is 1 lakh, maybe, I'm predicting he will buy an iPhone, otherwise he can't afford an iPhone. Okay, so this is just a rule, simple rule. You can write whatever conditions you want there. Okay, maybe age I'm giving 35, and then maybe salary I'll give 65,000. Since this condition is not satisfied, it's just showing can't afford an iPhone. Again, here I have written multiple conditions for the same check. Okay, now if I'm running this again, maybe I'll give 35, and then salary is 1,50,000, 15,000, 1,50,000. It just prints buys an iPhone. Okay, are we good so far with the syntax, with the indentation, and how the flow works?
Yes, sir.
So one thing in syntax. So I was
Mhm.
little confused on you are using the colon
Okay.
and the tabbing indentation, right? That is what
Yes.
that is a block.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now moving on, we are going to implement a simple appraisal program, guys. Okay, so I'm pretty sure most of you are working professionals and you go through this every year in some organization every quarter. Okay, appraisal cycles. So basically, for people who doesn't know appraisal cycle is something which is done in every organization to evaluate any resources. Resources, when I say resources are nothing but your employees. So based on that evaluation, you will be given hikes or promotions. Okay, so it changes from company to company. You know, few organizations, they rate you on a scale of 1 to 5. Few organizations, you know, they have different categories like met expectations, exceeds expectations, okay, needs improvement, some categories based on which they'll be deciding your hike and the promotions. Okay, in order to arrive at these ratings, you know, they have multiple parameters, guys. Okay, so here I'm taking few parameters, which is your actual rating based on your work or your deliverables, and then additional contributions. If you are doing any additional contributions to the organization, it could be trainings, it could be CSR activities, it could be anything, okay, which is on top of your deliverables. And then your speaking skills, your presentation skills, how you are communicating with the client, and how you are presenting your you know, your projects or the new proposals to the clients. And then the number of certifications. When I say certifications, it indicates your learnings during that period, right? So the number of certifications, and then finally CSR activities. CSR is nothing but corporate social responsibility. So people who are not used to this, corporate social responsibility is nothing but you know, the welfare programs any organization might take up. Okay, so since they are earning from the society or from the community, they are giving it back in one or the other form, and they expect their employees to contribute. Okay, so most of the organizations, they have mandated few hours which they'll have to spend in a year. Okay, so the CSR is the number of hours you have spent in CSR activities. Okay, now my condition is this. My rate, I mean, the employee rating should be greater than or equals to 4. Additional contribution should be minimum 3. Okay, at least in the 3 different activities, he should be providing additional contributions. And then speaking skills on a scale of 10, it should be greater than 8. Presentation skills greater than 8 on a scale of 10. And then the number of certifications is greater than 3, meaning a minimum of 3. Okay, sorry, a minimum of 4. And then CSR activities, a minimum of 6, which is greater than 5. Okay, if all these conditions are met, okay, I'll be promoting my employee. Okay, now once I have promoted him, if you see the conditions here, these are all okay. But if you see rating is greater than or equals to 4, meaning any employee who is satisfying all these conditions, and on top of it, there could be two categories. Okay, where employee getting rating 4 and employee getting rating 5. Okay, so I shouldn't be giving the same hike for both of them, right? Because, you know, definitely the employee getting rating 5 and got promoted have done a better job than employee who got rating 4 and got promoted. Okay, so if this condition is satisfied, okay, then I'm just printing employee is eligible for promotion. And if his rating, if he got promoted with rating 5, then hike is equals to 25. Else, hike is equals to 20. And then in any other case, this is for non-promoted employees, I don't care. Okay, in this example, I don't care about what your rating is, what your scores for other parameters. If you are not promoted, I'm giving you a flat hike of 10%. I'm giving you a flat hike of 10%. And then, you know, once I'm done with the hike percentage, I'm calculating your updated salary. Salary is equals to salary plus hike into salary divided by 100. This would give the, you know, percentage of your current salary. Let's say 25%. What is 25% of your current salary? And I'm adding it to your current salary and just printing the updated salary. Okay. Now you might ask me, boss, isn't it uh, is it really fair giving 10% hike for all the folks who have got, you know, 3, 2, and 1 rating, or maybe rating 5 and 4, but not able to contribute in other parameters, or fail to satisfy other parameters? Definitely, yes. We will add those things as well in the coming example when I talk about ELIF. Okay, but in this example, I wanted to show you, you can write an if else block inside an if else. Okay, it depends on your requirement, how you want to write your code or what you want your code to do. Okay, but there is no such restriction that inside an if you cannot write if else likewise. Okay, now rating, I'm reading input from the user. Additional contribution, I'm reading input from the user. Okay, and then speaking skills, I'm reading input from the user. Presentation skills, again, I'm reading input from the user. Certifications, CSR, and then your current salary, I'm reading input from the user. Okay. And then if these conditions are satisfied, then I'm just printing employee is eligible for promotion. And if he got promoted with rating 5, I'm giving hike 25%, else hike 25%. If you see, this beautiful indentation is making our code very much readable. Okay, so that is the reason, though indentation is not mandatory in other programming language, in coding best practices, they push you to give indentation. Okay, or format your code. Okay, and then for all the non-promoted employees, I'm just giving hike is equals to 10%. Then I'm calculating the salary, updated salary. Let me run this. We'll start with a promoted case. Maybe I'll give 5 rating. Okay, and then additional contributions, I would give 5. Speaking skills, maybe 9. Presentation skills, maybe 10. Certifications, maybe 6. And then CSR activities, maybe 10. This guy is eligible for promotion. Okay, and his hike will be 25%. Now, I'm giving the same salary to show you different increments. Let's say his salary is 10 lakh, 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh. Okay, now a hike of 25% would be applied on his current salary. Okay, you see 12 lakh 50,000. 25% is applied, which is 2 lakh 50,000. So 10 lakh plus 2 lakh 50,000, 12 lakh 50,000 is his updated salary. Okay, now let's go ahead and give other scenarios. Maybe I'm giving rating 4. This is also for promoted case. Additional contributions, maybe let's say 5. Speaking skills, maybe 9. Presentation skills, maybe 9. Certifications, maybe 4. CSR, maybe 6. Salary, I'm gonna give the same salary, 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh. You'll see 12 lakh now. 5% less than an employee who got rating 5. Okay. Now for non-promoted, maybe I'll give rating 3. This should do. Additional contributions maybe 2. Speaking skills 7. Presentation skills maybe 9. Certifications maybe 4. CSR maybe 6. And then enter the salary. I'm gonna give the same 10 lakh, 1,000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh. 10% is applied, which would be 11 lakh. Let me take a pause. Are we good?
Yes.
Suresh,
Yes.
Yeah.
here there are two if else and if else, right? So
Mhm.
first if is inside the first if there is one more if else, right?
Yes.
So can you please explain that once again how this works? And the last else is belongs to the first if.
Now, looking at the code, what do you think? That else belongs to first one or second one?
That belongs to the second one because the rate if rating is 5, then hike is 25%.
Mhm.
Else the hike is 20.
Yes.
So this else is also belongs to the rating.
Again, like I said, right, you'll have to depend on indentation to understand. Okay, let's assume you haven't written this code. Now, what I'm going to do is a simple trick. I'm going to remove this. This is my basic if else. Okay. In if, I'm dealing with the promoted employees. In else, I'm dealing with non-promoted employees. Are we good?
Yeah.
And for promoted employees, there can be 2 cases, rating 4, rating 5. Correct? Now I'm going to add this. If rating is equals to 5, I'm going to give 25% hike, else 20%. So whatever the code I have added just now, the if else I have written inside. See, this indentation itself is clearly speaking here, right? So whatever the code I have highlighted, this is inside this if.
Correct.
Okay. And this code, whatever I have written is inside this else. And for non-promoted case, it won't even evaluate any of these parameters.
Okay.
Okay, because either this one or this one will get executed.
Okay.
Okay, let's say if an employee is promoted, that is when this code will come into picture, inside which I'm again checking whether rating is equals to 5. If it is 5, then hike is equals to 25, else hike is equals to 20.
Yeah.
Suresh, one question. In the same inputs which you have given, right? So, for example, if you take the rating as 5, but the additional components is still 2, then still it will be 20% hike?
No, hike will be 10% because this condition is false.
Oh, okay, okay. So, and
When
means
this
all of them should be satisfied.
Yes, everything is and here. If you want to get into those scenarios, right, you'll have to add or.
Yeah, at least like for example, certifications greater than 3 and or CSR greater than 5. If there we put or, then also it will be 20 or 25.
Again, it depends, right, on the other parameters. See, you'll have to understand how and or will get evaluated. Okay,
Yes.
when you add or there, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so whatever you have added to or, if that condition is true, everything will become true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll have to be careful while adding and or, how you want to do it.
Understood. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure.
Okay, so I'm
Sir,
considering whatever I have highlighted as one single condition.
Mm.
Okay, or one single output, true or
Yeah.
false. If it is true, it's a case for promotion. If it
Yeah.
is false, it's a case for non-promotion or
Yes.
non-promoted employees. As
Yes.
simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood.
Okay, and I would recommend you to take a screenshot of this, guys, because this is a kind of thumb rule. If it is true, whatever you have written inside that true will get executed. If it is false, whatever you have written inside else block will get executed. Okay. Are we good now, everyone?
Yeah, Suresh, one more thing here. See, here we are giving an input of rating, right? Like
Mhm.
4, 5 and all. And we are also giving a condition that if add contribute is greater than 3, greater than 8, greater than 8 and greater than 4, right? Can we write one more condition like that? If add condition is greater than we are giving entry points here, right? Inputs, add,
Mhm.
contribution. If
You
those
can
are
write. That depends on how you want to evaluate. In my case, I want to keep things simple.
Mhm.
Okay. So you will see the same version, little later, where I'll be providing a case for non-promoted employees as well without giving a flat hike of 10%. Okay. It all depends on how you want to evaluate, how your conditions are defined. Okay. Syntactically, theoretically, you can do whatever you want. It's not stopping you, but
Mhm.
it is driven by your requirement.
So I
Okay.
just wanted to remove that rating part and put that into in if else condition. If these are all less than or whatever number you have provided, based on that we are providing the rating, right? So that rating also should come into this if else condition.
No, here the rating is already evaluated. Okay. So in my case, maybe it could be misleading to you. So guys, don't get to there. Okay. Just look at this as a example for simple if case. So
Okay.
here, this rating I have evaluated only on his deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like how many stories he successfully completed, how many stories were reopened. Okay. And on-time performance, right? And then the quality of his code. Based on these parameters, I have given that rating.
Okay.
Okay, and rest of the parameters are apart from his deliverables, which is making him eligible for a promotion.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, whatever the discussion we had, she is making sense. Okay, so these are the things which I'm recommending you to try by your own after going back, from the session. Okay, so there are multiple things you can do. Here I have given you a path. Okay. Say for example, this is just assume like music, guys. I'm just teaching you notes. Using those notes, you can create your own music. Okay. Since we don't have a requirement, we are free. Okay, but when you are bound by a requirement, you'll have to stick to it. Okay, but since you are learning, you can do whatever you want and see what is working and what is not working. If something is not working, get back to me. Make sense?
Yeah, Suresh, thank you.
No worries. Now, moving on, I'm gonna add more conditions for checking the probability of purchasing an iPhone, guys. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm taking age and salary as user input, and based on that, I'm giving the probability now. Earlier, I have just given a binary prediction whether he can buy an iPhone or he can't buy an iPhone. Now here I'll be adding the probability. Okay. If age is greater than 20 and less than 31, meaning 21 to 30, and salary is greater than 50,000, then there is a 20% chance he'll buy an iPhone. Okay. And if the age bracket is in between 26 to 39, 26 to 39, and the salary is greater than 50,000, there is a better chance, 50% chance he'll buy an iPhone. Okay. And if the age is greater than 40, salary greater than 1 lakh, I'm giving 100% probability that he would buy an iPhone. In any other case, I'm just printing he can't afford an iPhone and printing out of if condition. Okay. Like I said, only one of these blocks will get executed. Now, I'm gonna give the inputs. You tell me the output, what we get.
So
Okay.
here we
Maybe
see the second condition is something because it is
I would request you to wait, Satya. I know.
okay.
I know. I intentionally did that. Okay. Age is 35 and maybe salary I'm giving 60,000. Can you guess the output?
50% chance will buy an iPhone.
Yeah, 50%.
Yes. 50% chance will buy an iPhone. Okay. Now I'm gonna give age 45 and then salary maybe 50,000. Output.
Can't afford. He will buy.
Can't.
Can't afford an iPhone.
Yes, can't afford an iPhone. Now age is 27 and salary is 60,000.
20% chances.
Okay, so why not 50% chance? Because it is
Some
satisfying that
condition is
condition as
blue,
well.
so obviously it won't go to the next condition.
Correct.
First.
Okay. So though there is an overlap between condition 1, okay, which is written in if, and condition 2, which is written in elif, have an overlap. Since the first condition is evaluating to be true, okay, it will never go and check the second condition. Okay, so you'll just get 20% chance will buy an iPhone. Okay, so whenever you have an overlapping conditions to be checked, make sure you are following the right priority or the right order. Okay, so again, if some requirement like this comes from your client, you'll have to check with the functional guy, asking him, boss, there is an overlap. Okay, so which I should be giving priority. Okay, so for example, there are cases only applicable for this ELIF as well, right? It's not that every condition will have an overlap. And also there are unique cases for the first one as well. For example, age is falling in between 21 to 24, it's purely first condition. And then 26 to 39, it's purely second condition. Not 26 to, sorry, 32 to 39. Okay, and anything in between, especially from 32 till 39. Okay, anything in between falling, I mean, there is an overlap. Okay, so what should be executed first should be given the priority and written as a first condition. Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now moving on. This is the second version of EMI calculator. Okay, so I know every one of you are currently residing in US. Anybody from India? Joining from India?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Two, maybe there are few of you, which is good to know. Okay. I mean, it's not bad to know others are joining from US. It doesn't mean that. Okay. Now, the reason for saying this is, introducing something called a CIBIL score. How many of you know CIBIL concept? This is equivalent to credit score in US.
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever you are opting for a home loan or a personal loan or any loan, okay. So your interest rate, first of all, whether you getting a loan or not is decided by your CIBIL score. If your CIBIL score is good, you have good chances of getting a loan. If your CIBIL score is less, you you might not get a loan at the very first place. Okay. Even though you are getting a loan, you will be charged with high interest rates. At least that's how Indian banks works. Okay. So here I'm bringing in these couple of parameters. Okay. To check the EMI, how much you will end up paying. Okay. So basically I'm writing an application. I'm going to write an application which would take 4 input parameters from user. Okay. Which one is principal? Second one is tenure. Third one is your current CIBIL score, bank, and the next one is bank. And by taking these 4 inputs, it will calculate or estimate how much EMI you will end up paying. Okay. Now, this is an interesting example, guys. We'll have a lot of different concepts to learn here. Okay. Um, but before I go there, in India, this is the scale. Here there are few differences. So basically, CIBIL greater than 900 will, I mean, this is not reality. I think it should be greater than 800 because CIBIL score is on a scale till 800, I guess. But I'm just giving some random numbers, assuming this is what it is. Okay, but generally this is how it works. Greater than 900 is considered as very good CIBIL score. Hardly 5% of the credit users have that score. And then 800 to 900, still it's a good score. 750 to 800 is a kind of marginal score where you are still eligible for a loan. But less than 750, they won't reject your loan. Maybe 700 to 750, they won't reject your loan, generally banks. So what they'll do is you will have a dedicated agent attached who would evaluate your CIBIL score. Okay, so what could be the parameters? Because sometimes uh, a simple thing can affect your credit score. Let's say you have applied for too many credit cards and there are too many credit inquiries on your account, CIBIL account. Okay, so that would also result in losing your credit score. Okay, so if your credit score is in that marginal range, they won't directly reject it. They would go check the reasons for that marginal credit score. And if I found any such reasons which are valid, they'll still go ahead and grant you loan. But there will be a cutoff. Anything less than 700, no. Anything less than 650, I guess. Okay, 650, no, they won't be proceeding with your application, no matter what. But Indians, right? We have full of jugad. There are companies which will take money from you and can help you improving your CIBIL score, unfortunately. Okay, but let's not get there. Now, the maximum amount of tenure for Indian banks is 30 years, guys. Again, it depends on your age. If you are in 20s and you're opting for a home loan, okay, you can get up to 30-year tenure. 30-year is the maximum, at least whatever I have seen. Okay. Now, this is how my code would look like. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to remove this block. Like I said, this is how I always get into coding or understanding coding. Okay. Now I'm taking input from the user. I'm making things easy for you to understand. Principal, I'm converting it to integer. Tenure, again an integer. CBIL, again an integer. And bank name, this is a string. So I'm not converting it into string. Okay. Because anyway, whatever the output that is going to return from input function, will be a string. Okay. And here I have created RY variable and assigned it with 0 value. Okay. Now tenure greater than 30. If I have entered tenure greater than 30, I'm printing a message saying that enter tenure less than 30 and I'm not gonna calculate anything. Okay. If the tenure is not greater than 30, then in else block, I'm gonna write my code. What should happen? Okay, so whatever the code I have removed just now or I have highlighted now, this is under this else block. Okay, I repeat, if I remove this, now in this if block, I'm checking for tenure. If the tenure is greater than 30, there ends my application. I'll just print enter tenure less than 30 years and then I'll come out. Okay, if the entire tenure is greater than, satisfies this one, tenure less than 30, then I'm getting into this else block. Now I'm gonna deal with three different banks here: SBI, State Bank of India, ICICI, and then HDFC. And for each bank, I'm gonna deal with three different CIBIL ranges. One is greater than 900. Second one is 800 to 900, which is 800 till 900, both inclusive. And then 750 to 799. Okay, so these are the three ranges which I'm gonna deal with. Now, if my bank is SBI and my CIBIL range is greater than 900, ROI is 6.9. For SBI, CIBIL range is in between 800 to 900, ROI will be 7.5 rate of interest. Okay, if bank is equals to SBI and CIBIL falls in 750 to 800, ROI is equals to 8.2. Okay, so here the order in which I have written these conditions doesn't matter because there is no overlap between any of these conditions. All these conditions are disjoint. There is no overlap. If you check, when there is no overlap, the order in which you have written these conditions doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm dealing with the second bank, ICICI, and if CIBIL greater than 900, 6.9, and CIBIL in between 800 to 900, 7.2. ICICI CIBIL is in between 750 to 800, then 8.6. Okay, now I'm done with ICICI. Now I'm going to deal with HDFC. HDFC CIBIL is greater than 900, then 6.9. Okay, CIBIL 800 to 900, it's 7.8. And then 750 to 800, it's 8.7. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, it doesn't matter what bank it is. If your CIBIL is falling in between to 750 to 700, I'm just going to print our executive will contact you. I'm not going to calculate any EMI for them, how much they'll end up paying. Instead, I'm just telling the user that our executive will contact you and he'll work with you in person. Okay. Now, if it is not falling in any of these scenarios, okay, meaning your CIBIL is less than 700. Okay, I'm printing your CIBIL can be less than 700 or we are not yet dealing with that bank. Okay, so you have entered a bank other than SBI, ICICI, and then HDFC. In that case, I'm just printing your CIBIL is too low and or we don't support that bank yet. Your CIBIL is too low or we don't support that bank yet. Okay. Now comes this condition. So why do I have to check ROI is greater than 0 to calculate EMI, guys? Why do I have to check if ROI is greater than 0? Again, this if is a separate statement. Now, whatever the code I have highlighted, this is one if else block, which is nested if else, if, elif, and then else. And what do I get out of this if else block is ROI. Okay, based on the conditions you have executed. Okay, or based on the inputs you have given. Okay, but in these two scenarios, your ROI will still be 0. Okay, in these two conditions, your ROI will still be 0 because you have initialized ROI variable with 0. And in all these conditions, you are reassigning ROI value based on the user inputs. But in these two conditions, your ROI is still 0. Okay, so when it is still 0, I don't want to calculate EMI. Okay, so just imagine our executive will contact you and printing this is EMI payable doesn't look good, right? Okay, that too without interest because ROI value is 0. And then, printing this and giving EMI doesn't look good. So that is the reason I have added one more condition to calculate EMI. Okay, which is ROI greater than 0. Then, I have written my code here for calculating simple interest, amount payable, months, and then EMI, then total amount payable. and then I'm rounding the EMI value. Now let me run this. Let's say enter amount, I'm gonna take 20 lakh, 2,000, 20,000, 2 lakh, 20 lakh, and then tenure in years, maybe I'll give 35. CIBIL score, maybe I'll give 850. Preferred bank, maybe I'll give SBI. When I run this, there you go. It went into this if block. Enter tenure less than 30 years. Okay. Now I'm running this again. Okay. Maybe I'll give 20 lakh again, 2,000, 20,000, 20 lakh. And then tenure in years, maybe I'll give 25 now. CIBIL score, maybe I'll give 750.
You entered 2 lakhs.
That's fine. Anyway, it's going to fail. 750. Preferred bank, I'm giving access, which is not there. Now when I run this, it will just print your CIBIL is too low, or we don't support that bank yet because we are not supporting access yet. Okay. Now let me run this. Okay, I'm giving 20 lakh, 2 lakh, 20 lakh, tenure 25. Now I'm gonna give CIBIL score maybe 850, and then I'm giving HDFC. When I do enter, now it will calculate EMI. Guess total amount payable. I'll end up paying 59. I think again I have given 2 lakh. That's okay. So I'll end up paying 5,90,000, and my EMI would be 1966. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna end up paying every month. Okay, I'm 101% sure there would be still people who got confused with this one, ROI greater than 0. I'm gonna show you the same code without that condition. Let's say I haven't given that condition and I'm calculating this. I'm running my code. Okay, I'm gonna give 20 lakh, 20,000, 2 lakh, 20 lakh. Yeah, sorry. 20,000, 2 lakh, 20 lakh. Tenure in years maybe 25. And then CIBIL score maybe 850. Okay, and then preferred bank, maybe I'll give access. You see, your CIBIL is too low, or we don't support bank yet. But these are some wrong values, guys. These are not correct. Okay, so your amount is 20 lakh, and you are ending up paying 20 lakh. The reason being, ROI value is 0 here. Okay, meaning the interest component, whatever you are calculating here, the simple interest will be 0. No matter what principal is, no matter what tenure is, ROI is 0. Okay, so simple interest will be 0. So your amount payable would be equal to your principal. Okay, so I don't want this to happen. That is the reason for these two conditions where ROI would be 0. I'm avoiding calculating this total amount payable and then EMI. For the same reason, I have added this condition, ROI greater than 0. Okay, let me take a pause. Are we good?
Yes, yes.
Everyone?
Yeah, yes.
Awesome. I would let you go through the recording, guys. Okay. And I have one more example to deal with in this conditions. We'll continue that tomorrow, and then we'll start loops. Okay. Cool. So thank you all. We'll catch up tomorrow.
Hello.
Thank you.
Suresh,
Thank you.
can you please suggest some platform to practice? Because we have to practice a lot, right?
You can use Google Colab.
No, actually the way of questions and all, like I'm not asking the Google Colab, and not like we need some questions, right? The basic questions. How can we develop a code and all?
Can we talk about this tomorrow first thing?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. I have to jump into another call. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Please do remind me about this as the first thing tomorrow, and then I'll be addressing this. This is a valid point, and this would be helpful for others as well. But yesterday I have given you some resources, but I'm gonna repeat it again. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And also,
Cool.
we need these sessions to be available very immediately so that we can practice during the weekend.
Again, I'm not the responsible person there, Satya. I think you might have to get in touch with Career IT folks for the same.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.